Hey there guys, so in the previous video I asked you guys what you wanted to see for this week because we've got kind of a dead week in Brave Exvius, and some people said they would like to see an updated tier list from me because I haven't done one in a while. So I figured why not? It's been a while, let's do an updated tier list. Now, usually I do these with like Pika, Shadow Walker, and sometimes other people as well. This time, it is just me. Don't tell Pika and Shadow that I'm doing it without them, but this is kind of spur of the moment. I just figured I'd just go ahead and do it. And when doing, group videos, coordination can always get to be a headache. You gotta line up everyone's schedules, and I just felt like tonight I wanted to just sit down and do this. So I'm gonna fly solo, but I still love you, Pika and Shadow. We will probably do one in the future together. But for this video, you just get me by myself, meaning I get to use or give all the opinions and only I matter. Anyway, now when doing the images, because usually Pika does the images, I messed it up apparently. I didn't do the transparency correctly, so we get these ugly white backgrounds on the units, because I apparently uploaded the images incorrectly. Whatever, we can still see it. It's just not going to be as pretty as usual, like when Pika makes the tier list for me. Okay, so we're going to go over the units that are new from the last time I did a video. I think the last time I did a video was July 18th, 2022. So it's been about 8 months or so. The most recent unit in the previous video was Warrior's Prayer Dark Fina, just after like Paladin Sylvie and all. So pretty much from the last anniversary onward, new units. I think I got all of the units during the image creations. I might have overlooked some. Hopefully I didn't. Let me know in the comments if I actually missed one. But we're only going over Neovision base units that came out on Global, and we're not including the freebie units like Sonnen and Kelger and that kind of stuff. So no Neo Awakenings and no freebie units. Just the Neovision's bases. Also, the last thing I'm going to mention, well, two things. First of all, the usual disclaimer, this is only my opinions, take it or leave it. This is just how I feel about the units. But more importantly, we're only going to be talking about the units themselves. I'll mention if they have a good TMR or STMR, but the STMR, TMR, or the vision card that comes with the unit is not going to influence their ranking whatsoever. The only thing that matters is the unit itself and their power level on a team. So, for example, like Leftia Warrior's Prayer has a nice, TMR, but we don't care. All we care about is if the unit itself is good. Okay, so I believe they're in alphabetical order for the most part, so there's no specific order, so we'll just go through them, starting with 2B. So right away, we've got a really nice unit. 2B, I'm pretty sure most people are not going to be surprised by this. We're going to stick her in best tier. She's just incredibly good. She's really good in Clash of Wills because she's extremely high damage. She's got the good weapon in peril. She's pretty easy to use. She's got some utility, for example, the AoE Mirage, the multiple weapon in perils. She's got some AoE killers, only 2 of them, but still, she does have a little bit of team support. So it's kind of nice. But more importantly, she's a tag chainer, which is amazing. She's got the best katana in peril in the game. She is among the top DPSers in the entire game. She's elementally flexible, although she's better for light element, but she can go to any element you want. Just all around amazing, amazing unit. Yeah, 2B, one of the best ones on this list. I think there's going to be no arguments here about her going to absolute top tier. Then we have A2. A2 is an okay unit. She deals really good damage. She's good in Clash. She's relatively bulky. She's easy to gear. The damage is high. If we ignore her broken LB frames and we just focus on her hateful blade, she's easy to use. The rotation's a little stiff because you got to wait till a turn 4. But still, the damage is good. I'm not entirely sure if I want to put her in great or good tier, because really, at the end of the day, she's just a damage dealer, and that is pretty much it. Like, she does have an 85 defense break, and I have taken advantage of that in the most recent clash, where I had her as the only defense breaker on the party, and it worked out fine. 85 is good enough in clash. So, I don't know. She's also just really, really one-dimensional. But she's high damage, elementally flexible. I'm gonna stick her in great, even though I have a personal, overall dislike about the unit, just because I don't love one-dimensional units. And she is one-dimensional, but she's good at what she does, and she does have some extremely minor support, like the 85 break. She does also have a 30% Greatsword Imperil, which we don't really use that often these days, because we really are in the katana or sword meta, it seems like. Great swords are kind of old news, but she does have that, so it's something. So I'll stick to or A2 in great tier. I'm going to say she's like a low great tier, but she's definitely, I think she's better than good. She is still a strong damage dealer with relatively easy to use, other than the not until turn 4 limitation. And then Abigail, one of the most recent units. This is kind of funny that we're getting such good units right away, but again, I'm going to stick her in best tier. I would definitely rank her as the current best magic tank in the game. She is extremely bulky, even more bulky than Cecil. She's easy to gear. She's got things like evasion. She's got a great support kit, the best mitigations in the game for permanent uptime, tied with Runda. But as far as magic mitigation, literally the best in the game. No one in the game has permanent uptime, 85% magic mitigation, except her. And she does have the general mitigation at the same time. Just overall, amazing unit. And she's even got a really good support kit. She can fill LB gauge. She can do 87 to all the breaks. She's got some small imbues. She's got Mirage, a lot of morale. So just overall, Abigail is a wonderful pickup, and I have no regrets whatsoever going for her recently. I am super, super happy with Abigail. I think she is a very easy best tier. Dynast Scion Ash. So she's a little tricky one. Before Abigail came out, I would have her in either the top or the second tier, because like, she's really good. Now, she's not great because of her bulk. Like, her bulk is kind of whatever. She only has 75% mitigation, which is, compared to 85% mitigation, I believe someone said the math is 40% less total damage taken, or more total damage taken as compared to 85. So, like, in terms of bulk, she is just way behind Abigail, because 85 versus 75 is a tremendous difference when you're talking about mitigations. She does have better fire support than Abigail, because it's, at EX3 only, of course. But it's 45 amplify. She's got some killers as well, and some other small support, like like status immunity, etc. Same with Abigail. Like, she's definitely worse than Abigail, unquestionably. I'm kind of deciding if I want to put her in good or great. Honestly speaking, I think, unfortunately, because Abigail has really pushed the envelope for magic tanks, and really it makes these other magic tanks that are not Abigail just not feel as good. So I'm going to stick her in good tier. She does have some really good killers, 250% to 3 different races, some stat buffs, LB damage buffs, etc. So she's like more of an offensive support magic tank, whereas Abigail is almost pure defense. But I'm just going to stick her in good tier, because I feel like she got a little bit crept lately. Then Ayaka, cheerful caroler Ayaka. This one's a tricky one as well. So she does have support, but all her support pretty much is on a Magnus ability. She's got killers, she's got 100 amplify, AoE imbue, but all of that is one time in the entire fight and then never again. So it's kind of a mixed bag. Like, for Dark Visions, that's totally fine. We don't care. Dark Visions, there is only one turn, so everything on a Magnus is irrelevant for Dark Visions, and she's really good there. In Clash of Wills, all of her stuff being one-time use has absolutely been tricky to use, and that kind of forces you to bring Frievia along in Clash of Wills, just because you need more than one turn in Clash of Wills, and Ayaka cannot, she literally cannot be your only ice support in Clash of Wills, because after that one burst, you've got to finish phase 2, or you've got to get to phase 2 before the burst, and she literally has no way to imbue the party with ice other than the one-time Magnus. So you can't really call her an ice support, even though she does have the best ice support or the best ice amplify in the game. It's one time, and it just makes it she can't carry a Clash of Wills all by herself. Now she is a really good addition though, if someone else is doing the other turns like Frievia. So her damage is decent. She does have a good Rod in Peril. Pretty easy to use, but the reason she's easy to use is just like A2, there's nothing to use. She only has like 2 skills, which makes her easy to use. So I'm struggling once again, either great or good tier, because like if you're on an ice team, obviously she's great because she is the literal best amplify for ice. But on a 10-turn Clash of Wills fight, she really falls off in terms of support and becomes just a damage dealer. That said, she is a good damage dealer, and she does have more support than A2, because A2 has like no support. Ayaka does have some support, even though it's all one-time use. So I'm gonna stick her in great tier. She's really good for ice teams, but not amazing on other teams, but it's fine. Fleet-footed Sky Pirate Balthier. We're going to stick him in the meh tier. He was good once upon a time. The problem is just power creep, and he's a damage dealer with very minimal support, almost none. And it's just like he does damage, but the damage is power crept. So that's all there is to it. Like, if A2's damage was power crept, she'd be down here as well. But she's not power crept yet. Balthier is. His damage is too far behind these days. You're not really going to see Balthier on any top teams unless it's like a budget run or something. So, unfortunate. Barrett is going to be in the nope tier. He's just, like, not super... I mean, honestly speaking, if you... Okay, so here's the issue. If we're looking at him as a complete standalone unit, just Barrett compared to nothing, he's a good physical tank. He's fine. He's a totally fine physical tank. The problem is we have Runda. And Runda, just if you're not a physical tank plus significantly more than that, it's like, why aren't we using Runda? Because Runda has 85 mitigations, Barrett does not. So we're going to stick him in the nope tier just because the only reason you would take Barrett over Runda is if you like absolutely needed his fire resist buff. He does have a 200 fire and wind, I think, actually. And I know fire, maybe fire and wind. So if you need those 200 resist buffs, okay, Barrett is fine. But these days, resist buffs are so easy to get on so many units, including 200s on lots of units these days. I'm going to stick him in the nope tier just because if bulk matters even a little bit, you're taking Runda. You're not taking Barrett. So, unfortunately, no. And then Bartz is, of course, the absolute best unit in the game. We're going to stick him at the start of the best tier because, it is Bartz. He does have Boko the Chocobo, and he is making me really sad because this joke is already too old. And no, Bartz, unfortunately, is not good. I mean, he's better than Balthier, kind of, but then again, is he? Balthier is elementally flexible, Bartz is not. Bartz is locked to wind element, and honestly speaking, the issue is wind element is a really, really bad element right now, and going forward into the future. We know from JP, the next 6 months of content, there is just nothing for wind. Wind is completely dead. Completely. There is no wind leader, even today in JP. There is still not a leader for wind. There is no Dark Visions coming up where wind is a big deal. There are no trials coming up where wind is a big deal. There are no EX fights coming up where wind is a big deal. Wind is probably, at the current time, the literal worst element in the entire game. at the current time. That can always change. Maybe next week a Wind global exclusive support comes out and all of a sudden Wind is good again. But at the time of this video, February 24th, 2023, Wind is not good. Wind had one fight. The Dark Visions we just had. And that Dark Visions was completely broken by Riku. So the one and only time Wind was going to be useful is just not there anymore. And there, like I said, there is nothing whatsoever in the next 6 months that you're going to use Wind on. So it is probably the worst element in the game. And as much as I love Bart, he's a Wind unit in a dead Wind meta. So sad face. Bart's is just not good, And if that changes in the future, the next tier list video will update Bart's position. But until that happens, you're not using Wind for anything. Berserker Riku is like, where do I put Berserker Riku? Do I rate her based on her quote unquote proper usage, meaning a Thunder LB damage dealer? Or do we rate her as the completely broken unit that completely destroys every unit in the game when she works? Like the last Dark Visions, there's 1 or 2 Clash of Wills, people used her. In Clash of Wills, it hasn't really mattered much because Clash of Wills is a cappable content, meaning whether you cap with Riku, you cap with 2B, you cap with Ayaka, you're all hitting that exact same ceiling. So who cares that Riku might have overcapped by 400 times the boss's health if 2B is still getting you a perfect score. But in Dark Visions, Riku dealing 5 times more damage than an entire team of normal units is a big deal. And Gumi has not put out any kind of statement saying they're going to change her. And we do know in the upcoming future there is going to be another Dark Visions fight that, if nothing changes, Riku is going to be the #1 answer for that fight. So because of that, I have to put her into best tier, just because when she works, she is the literal best unit in the entire game when she works. When she doesn't work, it'd be down here in Matt or even like Nope tier. Because, if the boss does not play into Riku's gimmick, like, she's just not that great. She does very, very mediocre Thunder-locked damage. But when she works, literal best unit in the game. So we're going to put her in the best tier just because, either she works or she doesn't. I wish I could put her in like 2 different tiers at the same time. What I should have done is I should have done 2 sprites for Riku, and that way I can represent, the ones, the whatever. You get the idea. Hopefully you actually listened to the video and not just looked at the list and like, But yeah, so Riku, when she works, best tier. When she doesn't work, meh tier. But sometimes she works and sometimes she's the best unit in the game. Dark Knight Cecil, or more specifically Paladin Cecil. I should have used his Brave Shift sprite, not the Dark Knight sprite. That's going to confuse people. But Paladin Cecil, I would say he now goes into great tier. He was previously, I would say, the best tier, because he was, in my opinion, the best magic tank in the game. Not counting the whole counter gimmick of Chow, but just as a straight-up magic tank. He was the best in the game. Then Abigail came out and kind of bumped him down. So we're going to stick Paladin Cecil in the great tier. I would say he is currently the second best magic tank in the game. A little bit better than Ash because he has way more bulk. He's got Omni cover, Ash doesn't. He's got the field, which is nice. Ash has the killers. But still, if I'm taking a magic tank to a fight and Ash's killers don't specifically matter, I'm taking Cecil over Ash every day of the week. So I'm going to put Cecil into great tier, below Abigail, but above Ash. Of course, if Ash's killers matter, that gives her a lot of value. She becomes either great or even the best if her killers matter. But it's really specialized. Okay, Samurai Chizuru. Amazing unit when she came out. That being said, her damage is still good, don't get me wrong. It's just like it is feeling an entire year of power creep almost, or like 9 months of power creep. In Dark Visions, Chizuru's damage has fallen off a decent chunk. In Clash of Wills, it's still very high. Not the best anymore, but still, you still see Chizuru on a lot of Clash of Wills teams, including my own. So she's still very, very, very good. Honestly, it's more because of her entire support kit than just her raw damage, because she does have some really good support still. Like 85 mitigations. They are on Magnus abilities, meaning they're only one time in the fight, but it is for 2 turns. Mirage, she's got just, easy gearing. She's a little hard to use because of the trans shift, but you can make her work. I'm going to put her in the great tier because she's still really good. You still see Chizuru in a lot of parties. It's just her damage has fallen kind of behind a little bit. But it's still really good. It's still good. It's just not as good as it used to be. Emperor's, I forget his proper name. Citan, the new Citan. Emperor's Spy Citan or something. I don't know. This guy, honestly speaking, is kind of meh here. Like, he's just, like, again, it's a wind unit, and he just does wind damage, and that's kind of it. And it's not even great wind damage. So, meh. I would almost stick him into the nope tier just because, like, it's just like Bart's but worse. But, I mean, it's almost the same as Bart's. Whatever. Bart's is going to be meh, so is Citan. Again, he's just he's a new damage dealer, or a recent damage dealer in a completely dead element. And that's just a problem. That's not good. Lunar Festival Cleome. So this girl, people have probably seen that I don't have the greatest opinion of Lunar Festival Cleome. So, she does have some party support. Most of it is on Magnus's, meaning she can't do it more than once. Her damage is good, don't get me wrong. It is currently bugged right now, but that's a very temporary bug. I know they're going to fix the bug within a day or two, but it's kind of funny that at the time of the video, she's literally worthless because she's bugged, but that'll be fixed. But yeah, so, like, she does good damage in fire in Clash of Wills. She does terrible damage outside of Clash of Wills, but in Clash of Wills, she does good damage. She does have some support for the team. Not as good as Ayaka, because Ayaka is, again, kind of just damage, but she does have the support Magnuses. Cleome is just damage with the Magnus supports. The difference is Ayaka has 100 amplify, Cleome only has 45 amplify for the party. So we're going to stick her into good tier, because Ayaka is, again, just a damage dealer, but she has a 100 amplify. Cleome is just a damage dealer with a few Magnuses that buff the party, and hers are only 45. It's just literally just a significantly worse Ayaka. But she does still deal good fire damage, so I gotta be unbiased. And yeah, her damage is good in Clash of Wills. Her support is real bad, and just strictly inferior to Ayaka's. So she's under Ayaka. There we go. Cloud Strife, the premium unit that did get upgraded for Global and gave him some morale skills. So, when Cloud Strife came out, I personally had a few debates with people in, Discord, Reddit, etc., where some people were defending Cloud with his Global upgrade, saying that, he's an elementally flexible finisher in Clash of Wills where you can use him to do sustained damage, etc. And I kind of said that Cloud is not good in Clash of Wills. In spite of what he might look like on paper, he is still not worth bringing to Clash of Wills, even with his upgrade. So, now that he's been out for, 3-4 months? 3 months? At least 3 months, maybe 4. Who was right? Was I right that Cloud is not seeing use in Clash of Wills in spite of his upgrade, or are people using him in Clash of Wills? Let me know in the comments. Have you seen any videos with Cloud on the team in Rank 1 Clash of Wills videos? I'm not saying can he be used. He absolutely can be used. And if I wanted to make a video with Cloud on the party, I could make it work. Unquestionably, I could make Cloud work, and it would be fine. I can cap with Cloud in the party. But does that make Cloud a good unit? Do you think Cloud is worth taking for a reason other than I'm going to take him to prove a point? Like, would you ever take Cloud over the other options in Clash of Wills. I still, to this day, say no. I say Cloud is not a good Clash of Wills unit, in spite of what his damage may be calculated as on paper. And in terms of Dark Visions, I feel like Cloud has really fallen behind, because now that we're going forward into the elementally flexible era, when are we going to use a Thunder team in Dark Visions? So when Zac comes out, Cloud might see some more use. If you pull for Zac, you go full Thunder, you're going to get Cloud, you're going to get Zac, you're going to get... who else is big Thunder element damage dealers? Is that it? Cloud and Zac? My mind is blanking. The near units are light element. Esther is way too old to matter. Who's going to be on this Thunder team that we're going to be using instead of, other teams? I don't know. But anyway, at the current time, I would say Cloud is at best good tier. Honestly, he's probably more like meh tier, because he's just not super good, and Thunder is kind of had its time. We're now in a down spiral where Thunder is not super great. But I'm gonna put him in good tier, just because he is elementally flexible. Technically speaking, he does have the whole imbue thing, which is a big headache for modifiers. But you can go any element, and he does have clash damage. He's not a bad unit. It's just I don't feel Cloud is super great, and I think I stand by my initial statement that Cloud's Clash of Wills upgrade was so overhyped and didn't really do anything for him. I stand by that, and I've had so many arguments and debates with people about that. If you disagree with me, feel free to let me know in the comments, but I still feel to this day that Cloud's global upgrade was a complete trap, and it didn't really do anything for him. That's how I feel. Let's move along. So, Determined Dagger, the Evoker. Honestly speaking, her evocation damage is not super great. So really, all we're looking at is fields. She has a 50% amplify field for light and lightning. She also has a little bit of support in her kit. Nothing special, but she does have some stuff, etc. So basically, how much value do I put on a mediocre damage dealer that also brings light and lightning fields? I'm gonna... Honestly, this is a hard one. A 50% field is good. That's really good. But if you're doing a light field, she's basically worthless because she can't contribute damage because she's hard locked to Thunder element. If you're doing a Thunder party, which you're probably not doing because Thunder is a little bit outdated, she'd be better. So, I guess the fields are good. She does have some support, and Thunder is not totally dead like Wind is, because we do have Zac coming up in a few months, and Zac will give a big boost to Thunder when he does come out. Wind is just super dead. Wind is DOA. But Thunder is coming back soon, so we're going to put her into good tier. Dark Knight Pain is a big nope. Not happening. Even when Diosius comes out, Dark Knight's Pain damage is garbage. She has no support. Her damage is bad. She's just a big old nope. You are not going to use Dark Knight Pain unless you are a super weirdo and you like Pain as a character. Yes, I did say that. Okay. Dutiful King Edgar, or whatever his name is. Once again, we're going into the nope tier because he is a... Honestly, I don't even remember his element that is... No, ice. He's ice. He's an ice-locked dragoon. Is he locked? I don't even know. All I know is Edgar basically has no support, and his damage is underwhelming. He's a dragoon. Dragoons mean you can't get good amplifies, and he just doesn't do good damage. If his damage was good, sure. But it's not. And he doesn't really do anything. I guess you could arguably put him into the meh tier, but honestly, we're not even going to, because he's a dragoon. And dragoons not only have... his damage is not only bad, it's a dragoon damage, so it comes with a whole extra set of headaches. The fact that he's jumping, and that's just... if you're going to jump and be annoying, then at the very least, have your damage make up for that, and his does not. Elazul. we're going to put in the nope tier because Elazul, even though Elazul did get a global upgrade to a 100 Amplify, Elazul is locked to wind. And we've said it before, we're going to say it again. Wind is a dead element. You are not using wind for anything in the next 6 months. So Elazul is completely dead. At the very least, Bartz and Citan have 150 amplifies. Elazul does not. So into the nope tier. Same reason for Ellie. Ellie does have the field where you imperil by 50%, and that is the field. It's a really good wind imperil field, don't get me wrong. It's the best wind imperil field in the entire game. It's a wind field. We're not using wind. And Ellie's personal damage is like under 0. It is so incredibly, extremely bad that like Runda chaining his bolting strike is almost better than Ellie. And I'm kind of making a joke, but not that much of a joke. Ellie's damage is so flippin' bad. It is so unbelievably bad. And she even got a global upgrade. And her global I forget what it was, but it wasn't damage. It was like they lowered the cost of her LB or something like that. It was something completely goofy that did absolutely nothing for her. So yeah, all Ellie does is a good field for a terrible element. So once again, if we ever get a wind meta, she'll jump up. But until we get that wind meta, you're not using Ellie. Gilgamesh, Hero of the World Gilgamesh, is a 160 Dark Imperil, 89 Defense Break, 87 Spirit Break. Actually, I think he has 88 Spirit Break on his Magnus. So 88 Spirit, 89 Defense, 160 Dark Imperil, and really bad damage. So how much do we value good breaks and imperils? Not the best, but good, and just bad damage. We are getting Deoceus very soon. Dark is going to be good. Gilgamesh is also pretty good for some upcoming trials. The Grace of Darkness trial he's good for. He's actually even good for the other one. What's the one called? Let me think. Hold on. I can't think of the name of it. It wasn't the Thunder one. No, it was the fire trial. He was good for that. Even though he doesn't imperil fire, he was usable for it. So I'm going to put him maybe even in good tier, and that's almost just because Deoceus is coming out, and Deoceus will make dark teams pretty good for a short period of time. I feel like Deoceus is going to be like a 1 month, one-trick pony, and then we're going to get things like rain, etc., and then fire is going to be a way bigger deal than darkness. But we are getting that 1 month, and he is really, really good for that Grace of Darkness trial, which is not going to be super hard on global. Trials on global are always a lot easier than JP. So honestly, maybe down to okay, we're gonna put him in good tier just because of the dark meta for a month. We're gonna get 1 month of darkness, and then darkness is gonna be kind of pushed to the back row. But because we are moving into the darkness meta for a brief period of time, we're going to stick him in the good tier. Ihana. So Ihana is one of those very, very specialized units. If you're fighting a human, or is it human, Reaper, and Dragon? She has 3 killers. 3 killers at 250%. If you're fighting one of them, she's good or even great. If you're not fighting one of them, she's pretty much terrible. So it's literally just a big killer for 3 races. And that being said, we're going to stick her in the meh tier just because it's so specialized. And even then, even when you are fighting like a human, it's usually going to be probably more damage to bring something like 2B for an AoE 150 human killer and not bring a mostly dead slot that does nothing but human killer. But sometimes it is worth bringing someone like Ihana to just do a killer. But I'm going to say most of the time she's going to be on the bench. She does have a great TMR, but again, we're not rating around TMRs. Ingus is kind of like basically a field unit, and I'm going to put him into the meh tier just because I know he has 3 different fields, but most of them are kind of like whatever fields. Like, for example, his wind field is worse than Ellie's. His earth field is worse than Tsukiko's. His water field is worse than Nicole's. So the only thing he even has is a 5% higher fire and peril field over Tsukiko. Although, doesn't Taiba's and Yish have a 50% fire field? Or is theirs 35 too? I don't know specifically. But anyway, Ingus is like, he's basically just like a bunch of fields in one unit. So he's a convenient unit, but even then, his damage is terrible. And is it worth taking an entire party slot just for a Imperil field? Honestly speaking, I'd rather take Tsukiko or Nicole most of the time. And we're not using wind. So if we're doing water, I'd rather Nicole. If we're doing fire or earth, I'd rather Tsukiko. And if we're doing wind, well, you're building the wrong party. So Ingus is in meh. He's not worthless, but he's just not great either. Jekt. Honestly speaking, Jekt is... This is good. This is going to probably irritate a few people when they see this, but I feel like Jekt is just the nope tier. Just because, like, if we need physical bulk, we're taking Runda. We're not taking Jekt, because Runda is dramatically bulkier than every single physical tank in the entire game. Because 85 mitigation versus 75 mitigation is a tremendous, tremendous difference. And Jekt is at 75 mitigation. Or is he at 80? I think he's 75. But, and Jekt does deal damage. He does deal decent damage, a lot more than Barrett. So maybe we can put Jekt in the meh tier. Like, if you need... I guess if you're doing a water team, and you need a physical tank, but you don't need, like, Runda levels of bulk, Jekt is okay, I guess. He does have some support stuff. Like, he does have the LB fill and the resist buffs. He's got Omni cover. Okay, we're gonna put Jekt in the meh tier, but again, it's just, for one thing, physical tanks. Like, if you need like a tank, it's Runda, because Runda has permanent 85 mitigation, and I can't say enough how big of a deal that is. That is such a big deal, because it's for the entire party, by the way. You know, I realize Jekt himself is very, very bulky, even without 85 mitigations, but the rest of the party matters too. For anything that bypasses cover, damage over time, fixed damage, or the other damage type, like if you're using a physical tank and the boss does magic damage as well, it's hitting your party. The difference of your entire party having 85 mitigation versus 75 mitigation is dramatic. It's huge. So once again, if you need survival, you are going to take Runda every day of the week or Jekt. If you don't need survival and you just want like a sort of cover tank plus some damage, Jekt is fine. He does okay damage. A little bit power creep these days, but it's fine. So we're going to stick him in the meh tier. Kid. Kid is just like a breaker with a field, and like, I mean, I guess, I don't know, this is a hard one. Like, where'd she go? She hid from me. Okay, so I don't know, like, she does have breaks and a field. I guess we're gonna stick her in the meh tier. Like, if you're doing a fire party, you could do worse than Kid, I guess, kind of, but I don't know. Like, I'm comparing Kid in my mind to Louise, because so Louise does a fire field, a fire imperil, and a 90 break. Kid does an 89 break, so it's worse than Louise, but Kid does do a little more damage than Louise. And she's got some miscellaneous support stuff because of the Chrono Cross materias. So we're going to stick Kid in the meh tier. Like, she's just not great, but she's okay. Kamari's a big nope. He's a water-locked Dragoon. Water is not super relevant these days. His damage is garbage. We're not rating on TMRs or STMRs, so the Kamari is absolute no. You're not using him. Berserker Creel is... she's got some 250 killers. She's got 100 amplify to win, single target only. But again, wind is super dead, so we don't care that she has 100 amplify to wind. Her damage is garbage. So really, she's just a 250 killer, so she's pretty much the exact same thing as Ihana. Like, if her killers are really, really a big deal, you'll bring her for that reason. Otherwise, you're not using Creel. Kuja is, I guess he's the same as kid. So he's a 160 he's a 160 light imperil, as well as an 89 spirit break and a 35 rod imperil. That's all pretty decent. The reason I'm rating him lower than Gilgamesh, because while Gilgamesh does break darkness by 89, Gilgamesh is a defense break, and when we eventually get the light leader, that's Squall. Squall is the light leader, and that is going to make light element parties really good for a while. So we're going to have like Squall, we're going to have Nier, 2B, A2, etc. The issue is all of those light units are physical units. So we're going to want a physical breaker. Kuja is a magical breaker, and there's not really any good light magical units. So he's a good imperil for the wrong damage type. Like, the only light element magical damage dealer is like Yuna, Tsukiko, and off element Ayaka. Like, it's just they're not super great options. So yeah, Kuja's going to be the man. Like, it's a really good light breaker, good imperil. It's just that he's the wrong damage type. If he had 89 defense break too, I might even stick him up here if he had 89 defense break for the upcoming Nier, Squall, meta, etc. But defense, spirit break, no, we've got better things like Olive coming up. Final Fantasy IV Lastwell goes right into the nope tier. He is one of the worst units in the entire game. Absolutely dumpster tier. Nope. Lilith. Where are we going to put Lilith? I don't know. Okay, so, So she's a physical tank. Ranking her purely on her physical tanking, she'd go down here in the dumpster with Barrett, because as a physical tank, Lilith is not good. Absolutely not good. Not only are her mitigations absolutely terrible, they're 70% on her LB, and you got to wait until the SLB for 75%, and 75% is terrible. On top of that, the SLB doesn't even include physical mitigation, so she is one of the most awkward units in the entire game to be your physical tank, because you've got to use her SLB for the 75 general, and you've got to use her normal LB for the 70% physical mitigation. It's just an absolute dumpster tier of physical tanking. She is one of the worst physical tanks out there, because at the very least, things like, Snow and stuff can, no, not Snow, because Snow has only 50. Anyway, so things like Barrett, at the very least, they do their both mitigations on the SLB and the LB. For some reason, they overlook that Lilith doesn't do physical mit on the SLB, and that is a tremendous nail in her coffin. Now, she does have other stuff, like she does have damage in Clash of Wills. It's not great damage, but it's usable. It's like mid-tier. It's upper mid-tier currently. She has things like Omni Cover. She can imbue the boss with darkness for a turn. She can do the LB fill stuff. So I'm going to stick her in the meh tier. Like, she's not useless. She's definitely, honestly, she's probably even better than Jack, just because, well, then again, maybe not, because Jack does have better mitigations than Lilith. So we're going to keep Lilith in the meh tier. So she's not dumpster, but it's just, like, if they just fix that problem where her SLB doesn't give physical mitigation, I'd bump her up to here. But as long as she has the worst rotation in history, it's got to stay down here in the meh tier. Not good. Lulu is just another of these elemental breakers. She's basically literally just light Kuja without... Honestly, she doesn't even have the weapon imperil. So we're going to stick her below Kuja. Like, we've got so many good water imperils. Like, Nicole plus his field, of course, is 185 water imperil. We've got 150 on Kaito. We've got, I think, 150 on Shuiyu. So the fact that Lulu is only 160 and basically nothing else, and an 89 spirit break is kind of whatever. Like, Olive has a 90 spirit break and 100 and either 30 or 35 water imperil. Yeah, Lulu is just not really one of the good breakers, in my opinion. Lynx is hard to place. I guess we're going to stick him in the good tier just because we're going into the darkness, like I said, the darkness phase, and he does have the big amplify, and he does have the utility of Chrono Cross. The Chrono Cross guys all have those materials they can equip for various utility stuff, like the fields, the mitigations, etc. So we're going to stick him in the good tier, only because we're going into the darkness stuff. Honestly, though, is he really going to make the cut? Let's think for a minute. Okay, so on a darkness team, let's theorycraft for a minute. So we've got Gilgamesh, we've got Deoceus. Those two are the locked in for the dark team. So Gilgamesh, Deoceus, probably Warrior's Prayer, Dark Fina. Then we're going to need some damage dealers. Sephiroth and Dark Rain, likely, if we got the Deoceus team. That's 5 units. We're going to need someone to buff killers. So is Lynx going to even make the cut on this team? Not to mention he's a magical damage dealer, meaning Gilgamesh doesn't even break for him properly. I don't think he will, now that I'm thinking about it. I think because he's magic, he needs a spirit break, and Gilgamesh is going to be doing defense break, not a good spirit break. I don't think Lynx is going to really make the cut. He might. I don't know. I could be wrong here. I'd have to really sit down and get some math going to confirm this, but I don't think Lynx is going to be one of the big picks on dark teams. There's just no room for him because he's the wrong damage type. He's a spirit damage dealer, not a defense damage dealer. So yeah, we're going to stick him in the meta tier. Okay, mid is a Dragoon who is wind element. So we're going to just stick her right in the dumpster. This is going to, again, irritate some people. I've already seen people posting level 130 EX2 or EX3 mids in Discord. So I absolutely know mid is a fan favorite for a couple people. And you're not going to like me putting her in the dumpster, but I mean, okay, to be fair, we got to put her next to Bartz and Citan because, like, all of these are just, technically speaking, good damage dealers. They're just the wrong element. Wind is not strong enough. That's all there is to it, in my opinion. I don't think we're gonna see like a really heavy wind team anytime soon. I could be wrong here, and I could be wrong. Feel free to come back in a month or so in the comments and be like, you said we were never going to win, but we just did win. I don't know, but I don't think wind has a place in the current game. Just my opinion. Nelica, right to the dumpster. She had, one fight in history. That fight is long, long gone. Her damage is absolutely garbage. She has no place in the game whatsoever. Olive, finally, someone back in the top tiers. We're going to stick her in the best tier because when we're going to a magical fight, she is the best spirit breaker in the game. Her damage is still pretty relevant. She gears sort of easily, depends on the race, but most races she can gear for pretty well. She's even got some of the niche stuff like Aqua Killer, which came up recently. But really, the big reason here is she is the best spirit breaker in the game. Spirit is kind of a big deal for meteor teams. She is one of the best picks ever for trial content. The fact that she is probably literally the best unit in the game for trial content just because she compresses the best break in the game with really good damage and a fairly steady rotation at EX3. If you're EX2 or lower, she's not as good for trials, but at EX3, Olive is amazing for trials. And I foresee her being on very, very many of the upcoming Grace trials, like the Grace of Eternal Darkness, Lightning, Fire, etc. All those trials that are coming from JP. She's going to be just a really good pick. She's been the top pick for most of the 12 race trials, like Octomammon, Dark Dragon, Giant, etc. Just a good unit. And in Clash of Wills, she's still pretty good. Her damage is decent. So it's fallen behind a little bit, but she combines breaking and damage together very, very well. So, yeah, I'm going to stick her in the best tier because she's the best at what she does. Pearl. I'm going to stick Pearl in good tier. Again, I've said it 100 times. Only because of the upcoming darkness stuff. And I don't know. Maybe not. Her amplify is only 100, which sounds kind of strange. Like, only 100. But she is the proper damage type. She's physical damage. That's going to go along with Gilgamesh pretty well. And Diosius, she'll fit in better to dark teams better than Lynx will because she matches up with Gilgamesh really well. I guess we're gonna stick her in the good tier just because of the upcoming dark stuff. But it's really borderline. It's really borderline with the math. But we're gonna I don't know. Is there gonna even be room for her over the other meta units? Maybe. This is a hard one. Okay, the meta tier is getting really crowded. Just for some variety, we're gonna stick her in the good tier. But honestly speaking, this is like so borderline. I don't even know. Okay, who's this? Oh, Final Fantasy 1 Reign. Dumpster. Straight into the dumpster. Again, completely and utterly worthless unit. You will never, ever put him on your team. Even if you're a new player, I'm going to say it. You're still not putting him on your team. He is worthless. So, dumpster. Ultimate Regina. What are we doing with her? I don't even know. Where can she go? So, with Ayaka, she does okay damage, but I guess we're going to stick her in a good tier. Like, you're not going to ever choose Ice specifically if the boss is elementally flexible, meaning you're probably not taking her, but she's technically speaking an okay unit. She does okay damage. She can turn your support buffers like Ihana or something into a kind of damage dealer by... Then again, I'm not sure of the math here. If we did, for example, take Ihana, is it more damage to have Ihana buff Regina? Or is it more damage to have Ihana use Ayaka's card and chain? Because Ayaka's card can turn these support units into like a little bit of damage. I'm not sure what adds more damage, adding more modifier to Regina or adding another chainer with Ayaka's card. It's a good question. I don't know. But we're going to stick Regina into good just because, like, she's technically good, just not a lot of use you see her. We did see her used on a little bit in Clash of Wills. I know, for example, Trap did a rank 1 video with Regina in, like, was it the Ginger Buff Man, maybe? One of the recent Clash of Wills. So she's usable even in Clash. So I guess fine. We're going to stick her in the good tier. Okay, Roos to the dumpster with your BFF Nelica. Both of y'all sit in the dumpster. Garbage. Rosa is basically the same thing as the other buffers. She's a 250 killer buffer. When that matters, it's amazing. When it doesn't, she's basically useless. So we're going to stick her with all the other 250 buffers. Sabin, I mean, he's technically dumpster, but we could stick him because it is fire. And fire is going to have a moment in the sun with rain coming up. But his damage is really bad. Are we going to have room for Sabin on a fire team? Honestly speaking, I don't think so. I don't think we will. I very well could be wrong here, but I feel like Sabin just won't make the cut. Even though he has a 150 amplify, he's just not going to make the cut on a fire team, in my opinion. He's just not good enough. And as usual, I could be wrong here. Surge. We're going to stick Surge into good tier, and that's really... This could be just biased because of the recent Clash of Wills, but the recent Clash of Wills really wanted big magical mitigation. Surge has a 99 magic mitigation with his special materia. A 99 magic mitigation on turn 1. Other than that, though, he's just a light element. Honestly, no. That was a really specialized case where he had that one Clash of Wills. But honestly, the next time we're going to see a big light party is when Squall comes out. And as I've said, we're going to have Squall, 2B, A2. We're just not going to have room for Surge because he's also a wrong damage type. He's magical damage, and we're not gonna have room for that. We're not gonna have anyone breaking big spirit, stuff like that. So yeah, Surge not great. Silent Knight Charlotte. I mean she's okay. So we're gonna stick her in the nope tier just because I do realize she just had a Clash of Wills where she was really good. The only reason she was really good is because she had that turn 1 99% mitigation. and she had racial mitigation to the boss's race. That is the only reason. So because she just happened to fit into a very recent Clash of Wills, she probably has a lot of people saying, oh, she's really good. But honestly, she's not. She's really not good at all. She's a terrible tank. I mean, she covers fine, but she doesn't do anything other than cover. Like, Beatrix is about as good of a tank as Charlotte is. The fact that she just had a really all the stuff lined up for her Clash of Wills, we're not gonna let that influence us. She's still a bad unit. She still is. Songstress Yuna. So she's complicated. She's got some really good support stuff. She's got the big LB buff. She's also got the 99 mitigation. She's got the 45 amplify. 45 amplify is pretty bad these days. She does have the single target 100%. She can tag chain. She got some weapon imperils. I guess we'll stick her into the good tier. She's okay. She's got some good stuff going on. She's kind of like Dagger. Like, for some teams, you're going to be happy to have Yuna, but most of the time she's going to be on the bench. But every now and then, she'll have a fight where her stuff lines up, and she can be pretty good. So we're going to stick her there. Submarine Runda. I'm going to trigger Uwubonic as I put him in the nope tier. I still personally do not find any value whatsoever in Submarine Runda. I think he is completely and totally worthless. Now, I will say that I have had discussions with Uwubonic, who is a frequent rank 1 Dark Visions player, and he says Runda can sometimes be useful in the right party. So, I will give credit. He is a literal rank 1 Dark Visions player, so he is absolutely knows what he's talking about, and he does say Runda's good sometimes. But my personal opinion, I still feel Runda is not worth it. I still feel Runda will never see use. It is completely and totally possible I am wrong here, but that's just how I feel. My mind has not been changed yet. You're welcome to try to change my mind. I don't think Runda has any use. I would rather take another real damage dealer over Runda any day of the week. Any day of the week. That's just me. So I'm gonna put him in the nope tier, because this is my personal tier list. So I am calling the shots. So we are putting Runda in the nope tier. Tybus and Yish. So they're a 150 fire amplify, and they're a field, and their damage is okay-ish, kind of. So we're going to stick them in the good tier, I guess, just because, Crimson Rain is coming up. Having a fire in peril will be pretty nice, and they do deal good damage. 150% amplify is a big deal, and they're a tag chainer, which is always convenient. So we're going to stick them in the good tier, mostly because of the field. That's for the mostly it. But it'll probably be a good benefit on some parties. Ace Striker or New Guardian Titus. This is. I guess we're gonna honestly put him in the Met here, just because he's an old school premium back in the days of only 50% amplifies. So yeah, he just doesn't do enough damage anymore. 50 amplify is not great. We don't have an AoE 100 water amplify, so the only way to get him a 100 amplify is to bring someone like Nicole or Yuna to the party and single target amplify Titus. So at that point, you're using 2 party slots to amplify Titus, and that's a tall order because you'd rather use those single target amps on things like Xdeath or Golbez. So yeah, most of the time he's just going to be a 50% amplify, and that's a little power creep these days. He's probably going to be getting crowns soon in JP. They didn't announce that. I'm just speculating, but I feel like he's kind of due for it because he really needs it. But at the current time, I feel like Titus is just not super great anymore. He was once upon a time, but his time has come and gone. Tsukiko, definitely going to be high tier. I'm going to stick her in the great tier. Even though she is really, really good on a lot of encounters, she's got the Imperil fields, she's got a decent support kit, she can, buff, amplify, Cure in Peril, she can perfect dispel the enemy. She can do Rod in Peril. 3 different elements. Her damage is okay. It's not super great these days, but it's still good enough. Yeah, she's really good. I don't quite think she makes the cut for best tier anymore. She definitely did once upon a time, but her damage is kind of mid tier at this point. It's not great anymore, and because of that, I'm gonna stick her in here, right here. I don't. Then again, I mean, she has a really good support kit, really good. She can on-demand cure in perils, perfect dispel, lots of imbues, really good imperil fields, rod imperil, great at filling the morale gauge. Honestly, maybe she is still in the best tier. Ooh, we're going to put her at the very, very front of the great tier. Just because, and these tiers aren't really organized, in priority or anything. Just, every now and then I'll stick someone at the front. But, yeah. And here we're going to stick her in the back just because. But Tsuhiko is still very, very good. The only reason I'm holding her back from the best tier is because her damage has fallen behind a little bit. The meta constantly moves on, and her damage is not as good as it once was, but it's still decent. Okay, Vaughn, I'm gonna stick him next to Gilgamesh, just because again we're getting the rain meta with fire coming up pretty soon. I feel like the fire meta will be a little bit more long-lasting than the dark meta, just because rain buffs all Brave Exvius units. A global exclusive could very well change that if we get a global leader. But if that doesn't happen, then Rain is going to be the global exclusive leader because he buffs all Brave Exvius at the same time. And Vaughn will be good for that kind of a fire party. He's also good for the trials. The Grace of Darkness, the Grace of Fire, all that stuff. He is going to be a really good pick for those. He's also pretty good for the Evil Princess Biaka trial or whatever. Good for that one as well. So we're going to go ahead and stick him in the good tier. Vacationer Fina. We're going to stick her in the meh tier. She just came out. She's a water-locked mage. 150 amplify. Deals okay damage. Not great, honestly speaking. But it is still usable. If you go to a magical locked water fight, she's your girl. The problem is the only magical locked fights are the sub-bosses in Dark Visions, and those are all pretty easy these days. She can obviously make it super brainless, but with a little bit of setup, either killing it and re-raising it to use a physical mage like X-Death, or doing something like a VV Reflection. Like, all the sub-bosses are very easy to perfect score. Some of the strategies might take 4 or 5 turns, and Fina can probably do it on turn 1 if it's weak to water. But we're not going to rank her for convenience. And as far as just raw damage, it's not great. It's underwhelming. Van Harma, we're going to stick him in the nope tier because he has a bad amplify. His damage is kind of whatever. We do have AoE Earth Amplify, but if we're AoE amping to Earth, that means we can use things like 2B or X-Death or stuff like that, and Van Harma is just not going to come to the party, even if it's an Earth party. Warrior Prayer Leftia and Warrior Prayer Poppy, both of these are literally just terrible units. They're just really bad damage mages. Their only purpose is for their TMR, STMR, and we're not ranking on that. So straight to the dumpster. Now, Materia Hunter Yuffie. This is a strange one, because if you look at my damage spreadsheet, you'll see, oh, she's like close to the top, because her damage is pretty good. The issue is she's an Earth damage dealer. We're not currently doing Earth parties, because Dark Visions has been locked to an element. Global's been following that. None of them have been Earth vulnerable. Going forward, the bosses are neutral, meaning you can use any element you want. The problem is, we're also going into the leader skill meta. And the only leader for Earth is really far away. It just came out in JP. Snavlenka is the Earth leader. So we're talking 6 months away before she gets a leader. Zack's leader skill does work on her. And I guess you could, technically speaking, just like stick her on a Zack party that's doing Thunder, and she can like just do it herself as a kind of like a weird mix. But if that's the case in Dark Visions, if you're not imbuing her with Thunder, she's not getting the Dark Visions 20% party bonus, if you are imbuing her with thunder, at best it's a 100 amplify for a 125 mixed element. Or if you're not bringing Sylvie, then it's like going to be like a 45 or lower. So yeah, I don't see Yuffie being great. So we're gonna stick her in the Met here because it's a bad element. You know, Cloud up here is getting Zack pretty soon to make him more relevant. Yuffie has 6 months or more until we get Snovlinka to make her relevant. So it's just not a good element right now. So okay, there was my updated tier list and my thoughts and opinions on the units. You're definitely let me know in the comments what you agree or disagree with. I definitely read them all. It's possible I don't agree with you, but still, it's always fun to hear other viewpoints. Like if you think, for example, Submarine Runda is best here, let me know. Or if you think, Abigail, or honestly speaking, I think these three are pretty undisputed. You might argue with Riku, but yeah, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are about my updated tier list. And again, apologies to Pika and Shadow for not getting with you guys, but I kind of just like sat down like I want to do a tier list right now, so I did that, and I didn't coordinate it with other people. Yeah. Anyway, there it is. Hope it's been enjoyable. That you guys asked for an updated tier list. There's my thoughts. I guess we'll do this again in a few months. See you then.